E for Ethan. We've lit a candle. We'll keep that right there. The more you fuck around, the more you find out. And that sounds like a warning, and I actually think it's the best advice I've ever gotten. Let me explain. You learn from losing, and I want this to set the tone for this video. You learn from losing, and people are too scared to lose. But failure is actually the biggest win you possibly could ever get. If you lose, you've won. And I think it's a massive way of just shifting your mindset is in order for you to grow, sometimes you need to take a step back or you need to go backwards because you've lost, right? A great team is never built from only wins. They come from people that have faced adversity, they've lost countless and countless amount of times and not shown up in certain situations, but it all builds up to the time that actually matters. And that's the most important part out of all of it. So the more you fuck around, the more you find out. And I think it's a pretty simple term at the same time, because the more you try and find things that you're really interested in, you'll end up finding what really makes you interested, right? If you don't know what to do, try a bunch of different things and you'll find it eventually. Well, welcome back to Work in Progress. I'm Ethan, and I haven't lived your exact life, but I know what has worked for me. And today it's all about one thing: learning to actually trust yourself. Hence why the first quote, right? I'm gonna start it out by this, right? And look, the more you fuck around, the more you find out, like what I said before. And look, you don't figure yourself out by thinking. You figure yourself out by doing and seeing what happens. I guess the one time that I can really think about where I had to jump into the deep end out of all of this was going from playing junior footy and playing under 16s and being very, very comfortable to then jumping in and playing with men. And it was the biggest leap that I'd ever had. But the reason why it was is because I've gone from underdeveloped kids playing footy, right, where footy smarts isn't a massive thing and also physical development isn't a massive thing, to going playing against men, playing against 30-year-olds, late 20s, even mid-30s, and all these men that are so in tune with what their body's actually like, that it's so different for a 16-year-old to run around on a football field and feel comfortable. And that's where I felt like I threw myself in the deep end. And I didn't know how it was going to pan out. I could only have the confidence that I was actually going to play well. But I guess out of all of it, the biggest learning out of it all is if you back yourself and you have confidence in your own belief and trusting yourself, you are going to perform to your standards and actually probably above and beyond, because you'll surprise yourself what you're really capable of. And looking at that saying and looking at all of it is experience is the teacher. And trying and getting it wrong is the lesson, right? Failing is the biggest lesson you can have. You don't learn from winning. If people have dreams and aspirations and they tick every single box along the way, they might have learned a little bit, but they won't learn as much as the person that's had ebbs and flows and gone up and down the hill a million times and then eventually climbed the mountain and gotten top. Most people, when they go to climb Mount Everest for the first time, they don't make it up. It's typically the second, the third, or they work their way up. They go by each base and then come back down and rekindle and go back. It's all very different. There's this famous quote by LeBron James, and it goes by, "Great preparation beats all self-doubt." And this is something I absolutely stand by, because confidence isn't a personality. It's actually a receipt for the work you've already done. And it's a massive, massive factor into everything that I portray and put out there. I am massive on routine. And the only reason why I'm massive on routine is because I've seen the rewards that it gives me. I'll give you an example out of all of this. My pre-game routine is massive, and it all starts from 12 o'clock the day before. And I used to be the kind of guy that from 12 o'clock onwards, the day before, it had to be all of these certain things, and all of these things didn't go to a T, then you'd be stuffed. You're playing like shit the next day. No, I made 3 things that are easy, that are repeatable and sustainable, no matter what, no matter the environment that I'm in. And that goes by, I'll go for a swim, I'll hydrate, I drink at least 3 liters of water, and I stretch every night before a game. And then we roll into the next day and make sure I've had a good sleep and all that sort of stuff. And I'll wake up, I'll go for a walk, I'll get brekkie out, normally get 4 eggs on toast, I'll get a coffee, I'll walk back, typically it's maybe a 20-minute walk total, walk back and I'll hop in the pool, right? Same thing as the night before, I hop in the pool and I make sure that I get a bit of mobility done and just chill out, just relax. And I don't like to think about the game at all when I do that, because I'm focused on the routine. I'm not thinking about, oh, this will make me better. I just know that I have to tick these things off and I've prepared to the best of my ability. So then when it gets to the game, I'm on. And then when I get to the game, there's also 3 different things. I go out, I walk to the other end, I play a game called footy golf with my mate. We actually we play footy golf. So we pick a point that we go and kick to, and we kick the ball, and whoever gets closest win. We do a full lap of the ground doing that. So that's the other thing I tick off, and I always get a massage. I always get a massage because I know that I've prepped myself, my muscles, my body, it all feels the best, and my mind's in check. That sums it all up. And it's 3 things at 3 different stages within 24 hours that I know that are repeatable and sustainable no matter the circumstances. And that's what works for me. But it's so important that you know that what works for you doesn't necessarily work for other people. But you can use a very similar framework. I love to stand by the 3-3-3. So the 3-3-3 is 3 things the day before, 3 things the morning of, and 3 things when you get there, right? Make sure it's repeatable, sustainable, and you can do it basically anywhere, right? Doesn't matter the situation you're in. I guess to sum it all up, right? Preparation beats all self-doubt. So that means you're not waiting to feel confident, you go and earn it. So you've done everything you can, you've trained well during the week. To any of the kids that I mentor that play sport and take it very seriously, I ask them this question. What is your best attribute? Your best attribute? And they'll say, oh, I'm quick. I'm like, what else? Oh, I can kick the ball really well. What else? Oh, I can run for a long time. What else? And then they stumble and they're like, oh, so and so. And I say, you know what I know? I don't think I know. What your best attribute is? Your preparation. You train harder than anyone I know. You work harder than anyone I know. You have stronger ambition than anyone I know. And because of that, because during the week you have ticked every single box in your lead up to the game, all of your training, you know that you've learnt stuff during the week and refined your skills, you should be able to walk out there and be able to look at your opponent and go, mate, I've done 10 times the amount of work than you have. And I've fucking earned it. I've earned the ability to absolutely kill it today. And I'm going to prove it to you. So that's what I say to them. And they look back and they're like, oh my God, I've never thought of it that way. It's not about what you can do on the football field or on whatever field you play on. It's about what you do to get there to be able to perform. Right? People forget the journey all the time. They just think of the end result. Oh shit, I didn't play well on the weekend. Okay, let's look back. Is it your preparation? That's what it comes down to. It's not because I'm all hesitant in the game. It comes down to preparation. If you prepare properly, there'll be 0 self-doubt. And I promise you that. And I stand by that. Be realistic. And I hate it when people say that. It's such a commonly used phrase that is so stupid. I could punch a hole in my wall when people have said, be realistic about that. I love ambition. I love striving for massive goals that might seem out of reach, but that's what makes it so much more enjoyable to go and achieve. Being ambitious and not being realistic. I am the opposite of being realistic. I forward think and backwards plan. So I think about the goal I want to get to and I break down every step on how I can get there backwards. I'm like, okay, if I want to be an unreal footballer, that means I've got to play really strong footy at the VFL, break it down, play my first game at VFL, bang, break it down. But what makes me this footballer is how it gets all the way up. And that's how I'm going to get there. To top it off, I saw this quote that was all about actually why you've got to be realistic. And it says, self-trust dies when you set yourself up to fail with promises you can't keep. And it boiled my blood. Do you know how many dreams that would kill? By saying that right there. There's 2 words that could kill a dream, and there's 1 sentence that could completely kill a dream. Self-trust dies when you set yourself up to fail with promises you can't keep. Imagine saying that to a kid. Imagine saying that to a kid that wants to be an AFL footballer. He wants to be the next Cristiano Ronaldo or LeBron James. You would kill that kid's dream. Oh, I can't stand that, right? I'm all for being honest with yourself and thinking logically, but not being realistic is also so much fun. And that's actually where people get the most out of themselves, right? If someone said, oh, I want to be Gary Ablett Jr., some people would just say, no, you won't be. You don't have his genes. Shut up, mate. I can go make him. I love that. I love thinking like that. Just go get it. Just go out and go get it. What makes something repeatable and sustainable? I call this your rhythm, right? And your rhythm is your rhythm. It's what works for you, and it might not work for someone else, but I've talked about it before. It's a 3-3-3, right? That's what creates something repeatable and sustainable, because it's not too complex, it's not too in depth, but you know it works for you, right? People always say wake up at 5 a.m. Oh, you gotta have the perfect morning routine, you gotta journal, you gotta read, all this sort of stuff. And like, as soon as one spanner thrown in the works there, it's all stuffed. As long as you do it, if you do it for a week, you wake up Monday the week after and you'd be like, oh fuck, I'm tired, I can't do this, you're done, right? What makes something repeatable and sustainable is what works for you, right? Keep it bloody simple and build on it, right? We got to remember what got us here in the first place, right? It's these small little habits that we naturally possess, right? So how can we utilize these habits that we naturally possess and then build from that? But not make it so in depth that, oh, I'm having a shit day if I didn't do this, right? There's some things that people would just absolutely rely on. It's like a coffee in the morning, right? There's some things that people absolutely rely on that they need, right? It's about building a habit up to that point. But how can we make sure it's repeatable and sustainable in the first place and then build off it? Trust is built by showing up again, not once. And what lasts is what you can actually keep doing on a bad day. So we don't chase intense, we chase repeatable. Intense is the 5 a.m. wake up. It's the 20-step morning routine, and if I don't get this done, I'm failing sort of thing. No, let's make sure that we keep it repeatable and sustainable and chill, right? That doesn't mean that you can't go out and work out every morning. I've got some questions, right? 3 questions for you guys that you guys have actually asked me. So, what's something you used to be scared of that only got easier once you actually did it? I might contradict myself here. It's posting content, right? Posting content was so scary. Throwing myself in the deep end and going, I'm gonna post content for everyone out there to judge. That was scary, but it actually got so much easier because the reward you get from it is unbelievable. And you know that you're making an impact on the world, leaving the world a better place, influencing the people that you want to influence. That's what made it easier. And it has. Yes, content is hard because you got to figure out what you want to post, what makes you you, what kind of characters you want to portray. I want to portray Ethan Williams. And whatever Ethan Williams feels like he's going to post, that's who Ethan Williams is, so he's going to go post it. So that's what made it go easy. When self-doubt shows up before something big, what do you do in that moment to get through it? Erase and forget. Lower the stakes. Try and just completely disassociate yourself, right? Sometimes I've heard people even say, right, I loved going to high stake things unprepared because it actually made me perform better than what I thought because there was absolutely no expectation whatsoever. And I agree with that to an extent, right? But then taking that step above is where preparation beats all self-doubt because you want to make sure that you prepare yourself as best as possible. But I love being able to disassociate myself, not think about it, switch off, and then be able to go, bang, this is like, now it's time. As soon as I step foot in that football field and the umpire blows his whistle, puts his ball up and throws it up, it's time, right? The lead up for that's awesome, all that sort of stuff, but I don't think about how I'm gonna play when I'm at the ground. I think I let my actions dictate the way I play, right? But leading up to it, I never say to myself, I'm gonna go have 30 disposals and kick 3 goals and all that sort of stuff. Never say that sort of stuff, right? Because I know that I'm gonna get in my own head, and if we reach a 10-minute mark and I've only had 1 disposal or 2 disposals, I think the game's over. But I know that if I dissociate myself earlier, I'm not gonna think like that. I'm gonna take what the game gives me, I'm gonna make the most of every single opportunity that it does give me. What's one small thing you did consistently that's quietly changed your life more than any big goal ever did? If you watched the Blues and Greens Walk Club video, it's pretty much the question I asked. What's one habit that changed your life? And for me, it was reading. But reading before bed or reading in other moments that I would normally just sit and scroll on my phone. When I'm in bed, I probably scroll on my phone. When I go to a sauna, I normally scroll on my phone. I read there now, I read in bed. When I go to a spa, I'm gonna read my book because I normally just sit there and scroll. So it's filling the gaps with areas to learn when normally you just waste time by sitting there and scrolling. It's to minimize the scrolling on this thing, right? And I actually downloaded an app called Opal because I love it. Like it gets me off social media and then I don't go scrolling and stuff like that. So is reading at every opportunity that you do have instead of scrolling. I'm all for like sitting and watching a Netflix show or something like that. I don't see a problem with that. As soon as I'm sitting there scrolling, if I've got 15, 20 minutes, let's just go open a book. But yeah, fuck, I love podcasts. They're so much fun. I guess like, oh, this makes me so happy making these videos. I love them. They're so much fun. This candle's slowly burning. E for Ethan Williams. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I guess here's the whole thing out of everything I've just gone through. You find out by doing, and preparation kills the doubt. Stay realistic so you don't break your own trust, and make it repeatable so it sticks. That's how you become someone you can rely on. So, you're a work in progress. We all are. And that's why I've made this podcast episode. So start ugly, start today, and I'll see you next week for another unbelievable video. Make sure you save this, comment on it, like it, subscribe, all the shit you need to do. Go follow my Instagram, because if you're not following it, you hate me. You hate me. But I love you guys. Goodbye.